All right, what up, guys? So I'm gonna try to do this in one take, so I might like ramble a little bit, but I've got like a really bad headache today. My kiddo's sitting here next to me, so you might hear him going. He's over here watching Baby Shark and stuff. So we're just gonna go ahead and quickly try to get through this. With trading being down and stuff today, I'm not too interested in playing Diablo because trading's like half the fun. So we're just gonna get straight into it. This is pretty much what everybody is running, which is a Poison Barrage Rogue with an Andariel's Visage. It's similar to some other people's builds, especially when you get to the skill points. I think most people's builds are like relatively the same as far as skill points goes. It's all about like Paragon and gear. My gear is very similar. I've just built the Paragon. Pretty much to squeeze in one more glyph, because I noticed with a lot of other people's builds, I'm not a huge fan of like how do I put this? When people will go from one board to another and the only thing they're doing is grabbing the legendary node, but they're not putting the glyph there, I feel like it's such a waste. That mostly comes from back when the game first came out and I was making my own builds and stuff. People were seriously just wasting Paragon points doing that because they would go over there to grab that, but then they would go to another board that wasn't super important and wouldn't grab the legendary node from it. And I'm like, why the hell would you do that? Why wouldn't you just put the... You save like 4 or 5 points if you just go to the same, or if you go to the board with the legendary node and just get rid of the other one. Pretty much what I like to do when it comes to making builds is once the meta has been figured out, I try to optimize my Paragon board to the best I can, to where I'll spend like an hour tweaking just to get one node. But instead of me rambling, we're just going to get into it. And before I forget to do this, we use preparation. All right. So obviously, Andariel's Visage, it's the thing that holds the build together. Between the life on hit and the attack speed, you just keep on attacking, you keep gaining life, and it's really hard for you to actually end up dying unless you just get hit for a ton of damage at once. All stats is good, life on hit's good, attack speed's good, maximum poison resistance, you want to avoid that when you're master working it. And also, we get a lot of damage from the lucky hit. This build's going to focus on getting a lot of lucky hit in, just like most of the Andariel's Visage builds. Of course, every build runs Tyrell's Might because flat damage reduction, which is really hard to come by. It gives you resistance to all elements and maximum resistance to all elements. Unfortunately, one of my roles, Master Working, is plus resistance to all elements, and not at least like the maximum one or movement speed or more damage reduction, but I didn't want to redo it because my first 2 hit damage reduction. Anyway, I'll probably change that around, but for now, this is fine. Fist of Fate, of course, for the, I always want to call it an affix or an imprint, but it's not imprinted. I don't know, where your attacks randomly deal up to 300% damage. On this one, critical strike chance doesn't matter too much, so that can be kind of a low roll. Attack speed, you want that up a little bit. Lucky hit chance, you want that as high as possible. And same thing with the lucky hit effect, where you'll apply crowd control effects, because that's really, it obviously doesn't help with like bosses or Aether Fiends and stuff in the Infernal Hordes, but it helps a lot with, what is it? Getting, I think it's Creeping Death, right? Yeah, you deal 40% multiplicative damage over time for each crowd control effect they're afflicted by, so this thing will just throw random CC effects on people, and boom, you do a lot of damage. Over to the pants. Dexterity, max life, and the way that I have the build set up, you need to have GA on the armor. I don't know why I said GA instead of saying having a greater affix, but you need to have greater affix on there. If it's not a greater affix, then you'll want to, when you're master working it, have one of the plus 25%ers be on the armor. You can probably get away with that, but I would rather just have GA on that. So Dex, max life, armor, up to, so chance to freeze, you want that to be somewhat high. The gloves will also help with freezing, but since we run Frigid Finesse, right? And then second wind, just to get barrier for Conceited, which is on the amulet. On the boots, we have Dex, max life, movement speed. Technically, you could ditch movement speed, but this build, the one thing it does lack on is mobility. I've thought about trying to figure out if I can take something off and squeeze in dash, but so movement speed you want, and then smoke grenade, cooldown reduction. You could put chance to daze there instead if you wanted to. And then movement speed per Dark Shroud Shadow, that could just be normal movement speed. But you'll have Dark Shroud Shadow up all the time. I don't remember if I'd said it, but we have Umbrus on the pants, of course. And then we have Concussive Strike on the boots. You could put... what is it? Frostbitten if you wanted to. But this just has a chance 2 days and then dealing extra damage to today's enemies. So, where it's the smoke grenade cooldown reduction, you could totally change that to chance the days as well, just to make your odds a little better. But you hit so much and do damage so quickly with this build that doesn't really matter too much. And then we put rubies in all of the armor. Some people put emeralds to get dexterity. I prefer to do rubies because I want to stay away from getting one shot as much as possible, because again, if you don't get one shot, you'll rebuild your health so quickly that you'll be fine. Over to the weaponry. Dexterity, max life, DOT. Chance for barrage, of course, and then damage per Dark Shroud Shadow, of course. You don't want critical strike damage because this is mostly a poison build. Anything that is DOT doesn't do critical strike damage. I figure most people know that, but if you don't, you can't critical strike with damage over time effects like poison. You can critical strike with your, like the base physical damage that the actual shot does. But most of your damage with this build is going to come from ticking with poison. Damage per Dark Shroud Shadow affects both of those things. So if you do critical strike, then the additive damage will add up, right? That's the thing, is a lot of people are going for multiplicative damage, and that is the case even for me. But you do want to make sure that you have instances of, and this goes for any build, instances of normal damage, because you need damage for that multiplicative to, you know, multiply. So damage per Dark Shroud Shadow is just your best bet there. And then we have Creeping Death on here, of course. 40% more damage per crowd control effect, and then if the enemy's unstoppable, or it's a staggered boss, they take 80% increased damage over time from you. On the one dagger, we have branching volleys on there. Same thing, dex, max life, DOT, barrage, damage per Dark Shroud Shadow. And then increasing the damage from the arrows that ricochet from barrage. That's kind of self-explained here. And then obviously Umber Crux to get the little shade totem thing. It's actually really busted if you just like get right up on it and shotgun it. Like, you'll fucking kill everything around you. And then in our weapons we have diamonds. That's what they are, right? Yep. I think they're diamonds. Why can't I remember? Anyway, plus ultimate damage because of the one node on the Paragon board that we'll get to here in a minute. Conceded on the amulet with lucky hit chance, alchemical advantage, English is hard, and unstable elixirs. Technically, I think best in slot instead of unstable elixirs might be Frigid Finesse, but Frigid Finesse doesn't help with bosses, whereas unstable elixirs does. So that's why I prefer to run it. Plus, it's what I rolled whenever I was rolling stuff. Since you can't chill or freeze a boss, then Frigid Finesse will not help you there. And I don't really have issues taking out mobs of enemies the way this is, because unstable elixirs will give damage against mobs and bosses. So that's why I prefer it personally. Poison of You lasts for plus 1 or 2 casts, and obviously that'll go up. And damage per Dark Shroud Shadow. And then Conceded with having increased barrier, the second wind passive will give you a barrier whenever you, I think it's whenever you spend energy. I'll have to double check that when we get to the skill point board. High velocity on the ring, which just makes it where barrage has increased attack speed and pierces through enemies. We have dex, attack speed, lucky hit chance, and then same thing, poison imbue and damage per Dark Shroud Shadow. Yeah, and then Ring of Starless Skies. So this build has 3 uber uniques on it. Of course, like this, we went from having all unique builds to minimal unique builds last season to all unique builds again. I hope next season they change that, because I kind of like, whenever they made it where Andariel came out, I knew back then that everybody's build's best in slot helmet would be Shaco, right? Which, I mean, this is Andariel's Visage, but back then I was like, well, if it doesn't need a different type of unique helm, it will run Shaco, so then all helms are useless that aren't, you know. So I don't like that personally. It is a little bit better now that we can trade uniques, though, I guess. I think we went over all this, and then of course since we have Tyrael's Might and our resistances are just capped out. I wanted to one take this, but my kiddo decided to start bouncing in this little bouncy seat thing, making a bunch of noise. Like, oh. All right, we might be safe now. So if you guys, by the way, if you guys hear me umming a lot or having a hard time finding words, just like a quick little insight into my life, I have fibromyalgia, so I'm in a lot of pain all the time. I have chronic fatigue syndrome, so I'm very sleepy and I have cognitive problems. So sometimes it just takes me a second to find words. Being a stay-at-home dad too, like I have to push through all of that to take care of this little brat over here, right? So like that wears me out. But anyway, not here to talk about my personal life, but just a little insight on why I'm umming a lot, why I don't really like to edit videos too much because it's tiring. And I would rather also just play games. So we're gonna go over to the skill tree now, though. This doesn't matter. Put whatever into whatever up here because we don't use a basic skill. Put 1 point in a barrage. This is the weirdest thing for me, is only putting 1 point into barrage. But anyway. And then up here to improve barrage to make sure enemies stay vulnerable. Of course, 30 to get damage reduction from close. Go over here. We have caltrops, and we only go to enhance caltrops. We could go this direction for where it'll chill. But to be honest, that doesn't matter. We just want bosses for the most part to stay inside the caltrops, so we just do a bunch of extra damage to them. And then, of course, unstable elixirs to take potions and to stun enemies and give us extra damage. I kind of want trick attacks a little bit, even though critical strike damage doesn't matter with DOT. It's just free damage with physical. But anyway. Points into agile to get our dodge chance up a little bit. Technically, I think the best in slot for this build might be to have a little bit more dodge stuff on us, but I like doing damage. So, anyway, and then smoke grenade up to countering smoke grenade to make the Umbra Crux trigger. And then it also dazes enemies when you hit them with it. If you're fighting a boss, I don't know if you guys know this, but it will put a bunch of stagger on them if you throw a smoke grenade at them. 5 points into Dark Shroud up to countering Dark Shroud. You could get rid of this if you wanted to. You don't need critical strike chance all that much. I might actually get rid of it now that I'm thinking about it, but for now, it's here. And then, of course, Exploit and Malice those just give you damage. And then Poison Trap down to Subverting Poison Trap. So if it's mostly, this will trigger the Umbra Crux because it's a subterfuge skill. Take 4. Because it is a subterfuge skill, right? But this right here also, since we're using poison, imbue, and all that stuff, like they'll take extra poison damage. Come over here, 1 point of poison imbuement, and then over here to mix poison imbuement. Obviously to give our barrage poison. Did I miss anything up here? No, I didn't. And then into Frigid Finesse, because they will be chilled. Like I said, I think that might technically be best in slot on the amulet, but it is what it is. I think all three probably would be the best, but that's just asking a lot for most people. That's very expensive, very hard to find amulet. Shadow Clone and up to Supreme Shadow Clone. This will help deal extra damage. It triggers the Paragon node for ultimate skill damage causing all damage. I think that's what it does. I can't remember exactly right now. I'll remember when I see it. And the reason we choose this over like Death Trap, because technically you could Death Trap the little Umbra Crux thing and it'll pull enemies in. But this right here gives us Unstoppable since we're not using Shadow Step. 1 into Innervation. Innervation's mostly how we keep our energy up because this lucky hit chance, it procs all the time. Alchemist Fortune to give us better lucky hit chance. And then Second Wind, this is the thing I was talking about. Every 100 energy you spend grants 60% of your max life as a barrier, and this will trigger the Conceited. And then lastly, our passive is Close Quarters, just to get extra attack speed. And now on to the main event, which is the Paragon board. In the, oh, that's not the starter board. What the hell? In the starter board, we have control, putting all the points we can on here, just like a minimal path. We obviously don't mess with any of the resistance stuff, so. And then we come up here into No Witnesses, and we have Efficacy in here. This is what most builds don't run. Most builds run something else in here. I can't remember what. And then They don't have another board. But anyway, efficacy gives your poison imbuement 20% increased potency. So it just does more damage. And this board's the easiest one for it to grab since efficacy grants 125% bonus to rare nodes. And then this rare node, for some reason, has intelligence in it. I don't know why, but since it'll boost the amount of intelligence you get, you only have to grab these 2 nodes to make it work. Of course, we come down here to get all the max life and stuff. Come up here to get the ultimate skill damage for this, which is, this is what I was talking about when I see it. Your ultimate skills gain an additional 10 times damage from your damage with ultimate bonus. That doesn't matter, but it grants that bonus to all skills, so it'll grant it to Barrage and then Poison Imbuement and just all that. So we'll come over here, grab this ultimate damage as well. Leave. Come over here to I think a cheap shot. Yeah. And in here we have fluidity. Most people, I think, have something to grab the intelligence nodes in here because there's one here, 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 and here. So they just kind of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just all right here. I think the original board that I saw, the guy went this way, grabbed these, and then up through here. But if you put fluidity here, it will grant these tons of extra damage where you can save nodes, not having to go grab these. Right? Like, it would technically obviously be better if you come up through here and then also add fluidity, but we're trying to save space. So, not save space, but save Paragon nodes, right? So, I decided to put fluidity here to boost these here. So, it's not as good, but it's kind of like grabbing this, but not these. And then fluidity, of course, makes it where when you cast an agility skill, Caltrops is an agility skill, so that's where that comes from. And then, of course, we grab the cheap shot node, where you'll do up to 25 times multiplicative damage for each crowd-controlled enemy. And stagger bosses provide you the maximum bonus. So when you stagger the boss, you'll just tear into them. Grabbing this crowd control stuff here. Come over here. We don't care about the armor. We care about all this damage reduction from elites. Just grab this real quick. Then we come down here to Eldritch Bounty. You obviously want to grab the legendary node. And then here we have Canny, since we can just come through here, grab this. Yeah, this is usually the end of most people's boards. Like they just stop here. But we keep going, obviously. I'm pretty sure I've min-maxed where we can pretty much enter and leave and get the fewest nodes, or the fewest used Paragon points, while also getting everything we need on the board. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is what I was telling you guys in the beginning that I like to do, is take Paragon boards, and I'll look at other people's boards and be like, hey, if you orient it this way, you'll get this many nodes, right? That kind of thing. And then it ends up turning into my own little version of the build where I've changed things around. Like the original board I had, we came up through here and then got to here, but that just was like a waste of nodes. It was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until we got to like this line here that we initially needed. And then I was like, well, why would we do that when it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to exit this board? So instead of, because originally and I think it's 6 here as well. So instead, pretty much initially we entered through here using 7 points, exit here using 6, and exited right here, which is only 5 because we're going to grab this anyway. So this is the minimum that you're going to exit with anyway. But here is 6, here was 7. And we just like branched off to different things, or we can just make it one fluid motion and exit out of this with 6 instead of 7. And then come through here, grab this stuff, and exit out of here with 5, right? But anyway, we'll get over there in a second. This is the one we're on now. Exploit weakness. A lot of people come through here and grab this stuff for the life, and this is also the quickest route to the node. This is what I was talking about earlier. I don't like when people just like come in through here and come through here and grab this and then don't do anything here. So that's what I changed the biggest, I think. Just turning it this way, coming through here, grabbing this damage to elite, movement speed when you kill elites. Coming through here, down through here, and we still grab this one little max life node here because we had some leftover points, so boom, right there. Grab this, and then we have tracker in here. Come through, just grab what we need. Exit, right here. Come down through here, and then on the last board is Deadly Ambush, where we have Bane in here, and it's just a straight line. Like a lot of the builds I've seen people come through here, and they come down here and grab this stuff where trap skill cooldown reduction. 6.2% CDR isn't going to do anything really. Like it sounds good in theory, like 6%, but like 6% of 10 seconds is half a second. Like it's not worth it to go, especially since going through here used 22 points, I do believe, and this uses 20. To just take this route instead of going this way with it. So that's what we did. And that is it, you guys. If anybody's stuck around here, you've listened to me ramble pretty hard. I appreciate anybody who did listen to me ramble, though. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all like the generic YouTube stuff. I'm going to make a druid, I think, and mess around for a bit. Hopefully trading comes back on soon. That's the only reason I'm actually not playing on a druid right now is because I can't pay anybody to boost me to 50. But when trading comes back on, that's probably what I'll be doing. Or if I can find a friend to boost me. If my friend Grand gets on, he might do it for me or something. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully, also when trading comes back on, I can get mats and stuff and start doing some like Duriel farming and Duriel speed kills and stuff like that. Thank you guys for watching though.